Hello. Hi, how are you? So, several times in the comment section, I got this question about what to do if your partner isn't spiritually awake and you are. And, this topic is close and dear to my heart, so I thought it would be great if I could share my story with you in this video. Now, I married Jay, who is a really sweet, loving, and a devoted guy. And, we love each other very, very much. But he isn't someone who is interested in spirituality much. As far as I can tell, Jay hasn't had a spiritual awakening and doesn't seem to care to. He hasn't read one book on spirituality and doesn't actively seek after it. He's more into soccer, space, and servers. He's a web developer. And as you know, I'm completely the opposite. I'm someone who's very much into spirituality. I just love everything about it. I love sensing the subtle energies around us. I love exploring the inner world, the ego, the soul, and the body. It's how I think, how I talk, and how I interpret the world. Anyway, because our interests are so different, I have to admit we don't connect much when it comes to spirituality. So whenever I share with Jay about deeper matters of our consciousness, for example, I could feel him tensing up or just plain zoning out. And, even if he's nice about it and endures through the conversation, I get exhausted by the end of that conversation. And of course, vice versa. I zone out too when he talks about soccer, space, and servers. Anyway, I have to admit, there was a point in my life when I wondered whether our relationship was going to make it because we don't connect energetically. And because I'm someone who is energy sensitive, I felt our dissonance acutely. What made me feel even more desperate was I'm not someone who has a lot of friends. I'm the sort of type who enjoys intimate relationships with a small, close group of friends. And when my spiritual awakening intensified, the small group of friends I had fell away. So all I had was Jay most of the time. But, he and I didn't really connect very well, so you see how it can get. And so naturally, there was, and still is, the issue of loneliness. We love each other, a lot, but to be honest, it could get lonely sometimes. I know in all relationships, whether that's child and parent relationship, friendships, or romantic relationships, it can get lonely. But, not having anyone to speak to about spirituality and to grow together with, that can get a bit lonely too. Well, now, obviously, I have you to talk to about all these esoteric things. So I'm really grateful that you're in my life. But on a daily basis, Jay is energetically denser than I am. And so he doesn't really understand the subtler needs that I might have. But despite all these challenges, I like that Jay isn't as spiritual as I am. I actually like being in this relationship where my partner and I are vastly different from each other and don't see things in the same way. I like being in this relationship because, first and foremost, we love each other and we're good to each other. But also, and I might get a little abstract here, but also because I want to solve world peace.
What?
I know, completely random, right? But hold on. Hear me out. Let me tell you my thought process in all this. To me, solving for relationships and solving for world peace are related. Our society as a whole is dealing with so much separateness. In just a few generations, we went from living in a village with grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, and cousins to sizing down to a nuclear family where it was just the parents and the kids. And now we size down even more to having single parent families and living alone by ourselves. Family is the smallest unit that makes up the very fabric of our society, and yet we're experiencing disintegration of it at a very fundamental level. Our divorce rate is ridiculously high, and it's so easy to break off a relationship. I mean, I feel like we do it on a whim almost, and it's not without costs. We get hurt and become afraid of commitments. So we arm up, shield ourselves, and make ourselves as independent and self-sufficient as possible and opt to live alone. At the same time, we're also seeing a rise in chronic loneliness and longing. So how is this related to world peace, you say? Well, to me, it's all related because whether it's about keeping a relationship together or achieving world peace, it all has to do with figuring out how to get along with people who are different from us. The way it makes sense to me is if I can't figure out how to get along with someone I love and who loves me, just because he's different from me and sees and reacts to the world in a different way and has a different level of growth, then how can I honestly expect strangers to get along with other strangers from different cultures and history, with different religions and perspectives, and then go on to attain world peace? I mean, if I can't figure it out with my own relationships, how can I? How can I even dream of something like world peace? How can I honestly say to our kids, be the change you want to see, and yet don't even know how to get along with someone I love just because we don't see eye to eye? That's why it's important for me to figure out what it takes to get along. So yeah, I like having this challenge of having a partner so vastly different from me. I want to figure out a way where we can still express love for each other, still appreciate each other at the level we're at, and still honor our differences in a real way in our everyday life. I want to figure out how to let it be, let people be without me feeling like I need to change them. I want to know how we can let people grow at their own pace, in their own style, and not judge that as bad or wrong just because it's different from our own growth and our own style. And throughout it all, I want to figure out how to express the love that I am and recognize and acknowledge the love that they are as well, even with our differences. If I can learn to do this in my own relationships, maybe I can hope for world peace one day because I would know the mechanism of getting along with people different from me. All right, I got really passionate there for a sec, but before I let you go, I'm going to leave you with a little story about Socrates and his wife, Xanthippe. Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, was married to Xanthippe. Was married to Xanthippe. I know. Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, was married to Xanthippe, who was known to be a real epic. You know what I mean. She would scold, yell, nag, and just be the most disagreeable person to her husband. She once dumped all over her husband because she was that stinking mad. Now, talk about difference in level, right? Socrates is a philosopher who was mostly preoccupied with higher level. And then there was his wife, who can't control her own emotions and dumps all over her husband. And Socrates wouldn't do much about the way he was being treated. So one of his Greek philosopher friends asked him, "Why don't you do something about this? I mean, why don't you try to change her or something?" Well, Socrates' reply was, if a person wants to be a good horseman, he should keep high-spirited horses as well, not just the mild ones, so he'll know how to manage all types of horses. In the same way, because I want to learn to deal and associate with people, I have a wife like her. Because I know that if I can learn to put up with her, I'll know that I can put up with anyone. I know there's more to that marriage than what's depicted here. But I guess what I'm taking away from this is that all kinds of people are necessary for our growth, even challenging people. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. Until next time, regards, Ray.